Hello and welcome to Coffee with Carey. Thank you so much for stopping by today. I appreciate you being here. If you're new, I'm Carey. I'm a matchmaker. I'm a dating coach. I live in the Chicago area, but I have clients that are kind of all over the country. So far, I'm not international, but maybe that'll happen someday. I encourage you, if you're looking for some help with dating challenges, to check out my website. The link is down in my description bar below. It's coffeewithcarey.com. Today I wanted to give you a quick tip. It is a lifesaver. I mention this with almost every client I talk to, whether it's coaching client, matchmaking client, or the candidates that I talk to every day to possibly match with my clients. And it's going to be a lifesaver for you at some situation down the road, whether it's a date or another life conversation you find yourself struggling through. I wanted to share it with you. It's come up in other videos, but I've never dedicated an entire brief but entire conversation to sharing this with you. We can bookmark it here with this episode. I think I will call this episode First Date Lifesaver, or the one phrase that will save your bad dates from going down the drain and being the worst date ever, because this person has hijacked the conversation due to a bad day at work or something that has nothing to do with why you're here with this person. That might be a little long. Stick around. That's what we're talking about. It's a quick tip, so I will be brief, but there is a phrase that you can insert into a conversation when things have gone off track, when a conversation is veering off, you're bored perhaps, or you don't want to know where this conversation is going, or you feel that you would just like to talk about something completely different. You want to, instead of the groove you've got going on of bouncing questions and answers back and forth, which is a no-no in my book, that you would like to instead share a fun story. So before you can launch into this story, how do you get this person off whatever it is? I think back to the first time I came up with this phrase that will be the lifesaver to your date. That was with a client who was out with a fella. He'd had a closing on a property, his house, I think, or maybe it was a second house. He had a closing during the day that had gone haywire, and she was the first person he was spending time with after this long day at the closing. So of course, it's natural he'd want to discuss it with somebody. Couldn't get jump on the phone with his best friend because he had a date scheduled shortly thereafter. And she was the person that he was going to share all the details with. She'd get him off topic, he'd jump right back into that one, and she'd had enough of it. So we came up with something during our feedback conversation that we thought would work for future matches, should that ever happen again. I've shared it, people have shared back to me that they've been able to use it to insert it into a conversation. It might be helpful to you, so I'm going to share with you now what this one life-saving phrase would sound like if you were to interject it into a conversation. No matter what's going on, what they're talking about, you find a brief pause and you say this. Something you just said reminded me about this time. Or similarly, something you just said reminded me about this time this crazy thing happened. And then launch into a story, one of your stories. I have other episodes about how to harness your stories so that the ones you tell over and over again are at the ready for this situation in particular. It would be great, but otherwise, just in order to stop that question and answer type date from continuing on and encourage you to share stories instead. But I don't care what you talk about. It could, just tell about something crazy that happened last week, or the goofy thing your daughter said or your dad did, or a funny vacation story, or when you lost your luggage. Whatever your stories are that you like to tell over and over again, this is the perfect segue. And the reason it's perfect is this. When you say, something you just said reminded me of, you say that to me, who am I to argue with you? I don't know how your silly little mind works. You don't know how my silly little mind works. So what triggered me to want to tell you this story, you have no idea. And you can never come back to me and say, you were just changing the subject. Your mind did not go to this, silly story of yours, right? So it's foolproof because nobody could ever argue that you were not just triggered to share this story that you're about to launch into. So go ahead, write it down and practice it a couple times, but it works. And people have told me, clients have told me throughout the years that they've used it and it's awesome. So now it's yours to use and share as well. But it's something you just said reminded me about this time or this thing that happened or this crazy situation I found myself in. But that little segue gets you right out of it and onto a completely different track, perhaps back on track, but most likely just something different, right? So I hope you found that helpful. If you did, give the episode a thumbs up. I hope you will subscribe to my channel while you're there. It's free, helps me because it helps other people see more of my episodes. That pushes it out to people who have no idea how to get out of a conversation on a date that has taken a wrong turn and is going on the wrong track. So if you do that, that'll help me, them out as well. I will look forward to seeing you back here again soon. And until next time, have a good one.